Good afternoon, guys. Bournemouth went down 2-1 to Sheffield United today at Bramall Lane. It reminded me of the Newcastle match that we had earlier in the season where we dominate for the first third of the game but then throw it away. And in similar fashion, we conceded one before the half-time whistle and then again in the second half. It was almost a carbon copy of how it was, and Sheffield United almost played very similar to Newcastle as well, with some balls over the top that basically completely bypassed our three-man midfield, which effectively made it, well, ineffective. The conditions weren't great. As you can see, it was pretty bad, and there was a danger of it being called off, but then many Bournemouth fans were saying, well, it should be. Some had to turn back halfway. There were tweets going on saying, how can this be on? It's yellow amber warnings. Life is in danger. Yeah, it went ahead. The Manchester City match was called off, which was, not exactly a million miles away. So yeah, anyway, the conditions actually turned out all right. And we had a footballing match was actually fairly watchable in the end. Bournemouth, to their credit, I thought started really well. We had Andrew Surman coming in for Jefferson Lerma, which many people thought Lewis Cook, but he went with Surman. And as we said on the podcast last week, then we weren't overly expecting it. Lewis Cook seems to be out of favour a little bit. 5-minute cameos here and then being used for cup matches, but not in the Premier League. I think also that could also be down to the conditions as well, because Lewis Cook's famed for spreading those high lofted passes from one side of the pitch to the other. In the kind of conditions that we could have faced, it might have favoured that low, fast, zippy pass like Andrew Surman can sometimes do and dominate from just playing behind the sort of more forward centre midfield pairing of Philip Billing and Dan Gosling. And with Harry Wilson and Fraser out on each flank, I thought we had a relatively decent balance with Callum Wilson up front holding it up relatively well. I think that the clinicality was missing during a number of opportunities in the first half, but the one time where it did happen for us was the goal itself. And that I thought was really good. Some cracking interplay in midfield actually from Andrew Surman, who was pulling the strings actually fairly early on, and he played in Fraser, who did his common step over, darted towards the byline, and with his left foot he puts the ball in. Harry Wilson, unlucky with the shot, was worried it came off Dan Gosling, who was in an offside position. It wasn't, and it rebounded off a defender to Callum Wilson, who put it high into the net. And so nice to see Callum to score, and we should have made it 2 only moments after that, where Fraser again was in the thick of the action setting up Billing, but for some reason went for this kind of stick your leg out rather than get ahead on it. Sheffield United then slowly came into the game like Newcastle tend to, and it's Bournemouth sort of switched off a little bit. Our domination in the middle went, and Andrew Surman's effectivity, is that a word? I keep on making up words, I swear it. Effectiveness was becoming less. And I think it sort of mirrored the team performance really, and there were a number of little things that were happening. Adam Smith, I said recently, you tend to go down easily. He dived by the looks of it, and then Sheffield United had a counter attack which we were unlucky really not to concede from. I think that was a Billy Sharp shot that went into the side netting from a quite a tight angle. The game sort of tailed off a bit, but Sheffield United had more possession and the crowd were getting more into it, and you just felt it was coming. We were putting bodies on the line numerous times, Simon Francis, Nathan Ake, but we couldn't really do much about their goal. I mean, before that, Norwood had a shot which was deflected wide from Ake. Ramsdale had committed to the dive, and fortunately it went the other side of the post, the other part of the goal. But then, it came, and it was a low shot that came in. It was a corner actually we had, and then went to the far post. It was kept alive, and then a deflected shot squirmed across, and it fell to Billy Sharp, who once again, very similar to the Sheffield United goal, netted. And based on the play, it was probably about right. United, to their credit, I thought were stuck to their task. We could have pulled them apart, and we didn't. It's almost a mental thing that we haven't got the aggression and the sort of the attitude of killing teams off when they're there for the taking. We almost calm it down, whereas really we just need to keep going, keep scoring goals, and it didn't happen. Sat back, soaked it up. We were obviously playing a tactical game of soaking up pressure and counter-attacking, but when you're 1-0 up, the other team's going to be fighting more, and there's only so much soaking you can do. We didn't have an outlet. Ryan Fraser was a great outlet early on, but then he was getting no chances after that, and Harry Wilson was also very stunted on that side as well. So our ball retention in midfield wasn't good. Sheffield United were turning us over, and then they got their deserved equaliser. So their tails are up. Half time came, second half continued in the same vein as the first half ended. Really, they were the better side. They were playing a lot of balls over the top, which, as I said, nullified having three in the middle. At that point, I would have said a formation change would have been handy, bringing on Josh King, perhaps. I don't know. We just needed something a little bit different. Harry Wilson, I thought, was a little bit more ineffective. He did create a great chance, which ended up at Fraser into the second half, where Henderson saved really well from a rocket of the shot from Wee Man. And Nathan Ake had a chance as well, similar to one of Callum Wilson's in the first, where he chested it and shot on the turn, but the ball was quite high, went wide of the post. And then Lys Mousset came on and, was instrumental, really. Had a chance himself and then assisted the winner. It was Lundstrom who scored it. Bournemouth caught napping in the box. Shape went to pot, really. Dan Gosling not marking Lundstrom, but then Frano got pulled out of position. Ake had to go one man over. So he pretty much had a very easy finish. Similar to Callum Wilson's against Brighton in our 5-0. Took it very well with his, I think, left foot past Ramsdale, who I don't think had the best of games, by the way. It ended up 2-1 to United. We didn't get back into it. Ake had a chance at the end, but United, they're now 2 points behind Chelsea, and you've got to credit Chris Wilder for what he's doing there. Took the booking today. Sermon lost his cool, but he emerged a very, very happy manager. And in your 5-word match reports, in the podcast, there are a number that we go over, but I'm going to just do a few more, including ST, try staying on your feet. Nathan Nichols, don't look like relegation fodder. Also, Leslie saying, we miss you being there. That was Andy Jennings, who wasn't at the game today. You need to be going, Andy, because you're pretty much a good luck charm most of the times. Draw would have been fair, said James. Should not have lost that, said Paul. Billy Sharp scores goals. Only needed 4, said Nick Tate. Fair play, mate. Blades rewarded for dominating late, said Larry. Save from Henderson. That was the one from Wee Man. The turning point from Michael. Should have kept Lys Mousset, said Craig. Interesting. There are more 5-word match reports that will appear on the next video, which will be the podcast, and Mr. Tiggs is on that one. But feel a bit deflated, really. Got 2 weeks to wait until we can turn it around again, and it's going to be another trip up north in stereotypically probably horrendous weather conditions. It's not great, but we just need to do that first third for all of the game. We did it against Brighton, we did it against Villa. The fans, to their credit, I thought were loud today. Well done for all who travelled, but it just wasn't to be. Final score then, Sheffield United 2, AFC Bournemouth 1. Who was your man of the match for the Cherries? If you're a Sheffield United fan, what are your hopes for this season? What position do you want to finish in? You seem to be the new love interest of Premier League supporters now, in terms of having a second team, which I'm slightly jealous of, because it used to be Bournemouth for a while, but we haven't been good enough for a while, and this season is a struggle, and deservedly so. Hoping that we're going to be able to turn it around. I have faith that we do. There are matches ahead that we might want to take an interest in. Of course, Man City against West Ham was called off earlier today. West Ham have got a horrendous run of games, but also Villa are hosting Spurs as well very soon, and so that's going to be a very interesting match to see what happens there. It would be great if Spurs can turn them over and at least leave the gap intact. So the collateral damage, might not be very bad in terms of points. We might be exactly the same, but it's a match against a winnable team, and when you consider the matches that we've got ahead against teams that are much better than us, then it could be considered a quite negative thing. Who knows? But anyway, thanks for watching. Really appreciate you doing it. Well done to all the people that travelled. I'm going up to Burnley. If you fancy a chat after the game, I'll be there. But until then, please subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next video. And there's training ground news coming soon. See you later.